It is the last Buck Sexton show of the decade, my friends. Exciting stuff to get to today, and obviously the way to kick off your holiday season is right here in the Freedom Hut. We will talk about Pelosi holding back impeachment articles. Is this, in fact, the best decade in human history? J.K. Rowling is in the middle of the social justice mess. And also, oh, that's right, there was a Democrat debate last night. Coming up.
What does it feel like to be the third president in U.S. history to be impeached?
Well, I don't feel like I'm being impeached because it's a hoax. It's a setup. It's a horrible thing they did. They happened to have a small majority, and they took that small majority, and they forced people. And, you know, they said, oh, I watched Pelosi out there saying, oh, no, we don't want to talk to anybody. They put the arm on everybody. They tried to get them to do what they had to do. Many of those people were like Jeff, where they didn't want to vote that way. But it doesn't feel, to me, it doesn't feel like impeachment. Last night I said it. We had a great time last night. The room was packed. Thousands of people couldn't get in. A section that really is a pretty much 50-50 section in terms of Democrat, Republican. We had, every one of those people is voting for Trump Pence, every one of them. And it's Michigan, an important state. We brought back tremendous amounts of business, tremendous car companies coming in, everything else. And I'll tell you, I was up there and I was thinking about it. I actually said it. It doesn't feel like impeachment.
Doesn't feel like impeachment to me either. And now there's a real question as to whether it technically is even impeachment. Welcome to the Buck Sexton Show, man. Last show of the decade. This is crazy. Pretty amazing, too, to come full circle here. I started doing the Buck Sexton Show, I believe it was in 2012, although some of you who are original Saturday Squad may tell me it was 2013. But pretty much the start of the decade, and now we're coming into the end of the decade. And there's actual news this week. You know, usually this time of year, we would do a show on, like, the history of the real Santa Claus or Christmas celebrations around the world. I got to bring back the Dracula show for next year, by the way, for Halloween. I'm really do it up, like really go to the next level. People missed that one this year. And maybe even do a reprise of the Lepanto show. It's been so many years now. I feel like we go back and redo it and, you know, kick it up a notch. Isn't that what Emeril Lagasse used to say, right? And also, bam, right? Isn't that his thing? Wasn't that his...
I think it was bam and kick it up a notch.
Kick it up a notch, yeah. So that's what we might do with that. Anyway, we did, and I remember one year we did a Battle of the Bulge show, which was just really interesting. I got to interview a bunch of Battle of the Bulge veterans, including one guy who was captured. I mean, just harrowing stuff. But today we have news to get into, including the latest here. I mean, Pelosi has managed to box herself into a corner. There are people who are pointing out now that the Democrats' own expert witness on their side. The guy, I mean, he looked kind of like, you know, like Professor Snape's cousin from Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling also in the news for other reasons. We'll get to that. But the guy who was their main sort of dapper constitutional witness, who is also saying that President Trump should be impeached. It's no surprise. No surprise there. He's been handpicked for exactly that reason. But Harvard Law professor, whatever his name is, I don't even remember this guy's name now. Noah Feldman, there we go. He said that if the House does not communicate its impeachment to the Senate, it hasn't actually impeached the president. If the articles are not transmitted, Trump could legitimately say he wasn't truly impeached at all. This is beautiful. I mean, this is perfect. This is a nice gift for Buck, the Freedom Hut, and all of America for Christmas and, of course, for my birthday, which is December 28th. And let me tell you right now that for those of you that only listen on our wonderful affiliate stations on radio across the country, if you want to hear the special birthday message I have, and it's a show, basically. It's a short podcast we've done. But if you want to hear the special birthday podcast, you got to subscribe. And so all I want for my birthday is everybody listening to this to subscribe, even if I'm your first ever podcast. In fact, I should be your first ever if you don't listen to podcasts, on the iHeart app or on iTunes. Subscribe to the Buck Sexton Show. We even have a new, what do we call that? A new thing with a photo on my face that goes up with the podcast. What's that called? A logo?
A logo?
Is it a logo?
You need
There's
to be
got to be a
reminded
cooler
the word?
There's got to be a cooler name than logo.
A new branding?
Producer. I was about to call you Producer Brandon. That's the kind of mood I'm in today.
Wow.
Yeah. So at least it wasn't Producer John, though, whom we miss. Who we miss. He'll come back.
You just looked at me and called me John the other day. It's
That's what I'm
crazy.
saying.
Yeah.
But at least we didn't do that today. But here's so you got to download subscribe. Forget about subscribe to the Buck Sexton Show podcast, and you'll hear a special birthday message, a special birthday show, I should say. The iHeart app, it's free. Download it. Please check it out. That is my pitch to all of you listening on stations across the country. If you don't download or subscribe to the podcast of the Buck Sexton Show, you're not going to hear the special birthday message. And it's worth it, I think. Some of the producers who heard it were like, oh, that's actually really interesting. So, Pelosi has made this much more complicated for herself than she intended, I suppose. But then again, she's just been making it up as she goes along with this whole fiasco. Remember, the Mueller probe was supposed to be the signed, sealed, and delivered impeachment roadmap. And then Mueller went on the air, or rather it was on the air in a sense, but did get his testimony, and it was clear that he did not, in fact, know that much about the report that he was supposedly. And at that point, it was obvious he was just the front man for it. He was the facade. Oh, Mueller is an honest, good guy, although there's even some questions about his FBI past when he was director. You look at the anthrax case, how that was handled. But, Mueller's Marine, served his country, ethical guy, seems like the straight edge, straight and narrow kind of dude. Weissman, everybody knows, is like, you might as well put Lawrence O'Donnell, Rachel Maddow, and Don Lemon in charge of the investigation of Trump under the special counsel probe. I mean, Weissman's just a far-left Democrat partisan. And we knew that after Mueller gave his testimony, it was clear that Weissman was the guy really running the show. So he was supposed to, and he laid it out in that way with the 10 articles of impeachment. That was, okay, here you go. That was the alley-oop. That was the throw it up and let somebody else jam it down the net. 2 points. See, I know some sports, producer Mark. I know some sports. And unfortunately, it didn't work for them. And fortunately for the country and for the rest of us. So then they had to come up with this whole whistleblower and a new round of impeachment theorizing. But they've had to scramble, clearly. This was not the plan. The plan was not this. And when I mean the plan, I'm talking about stretching back a year or 2 or 3 ago. It was not to use this whistleblower complaint in this way. This is a desperation play. And so Nancy Pelosi now has to do this, or has decided to, I shouldn't say has to, this game where the Senate shall have the sole responsibility for trying impeachments. And Pelosi saying, well, we're not going to let the Senate do its constitutional duty unless the Senate tries the impeachment the way we say it should. It's not how this works, Nancy. It's not how this works. I mean, imagine for a second if the House said, well, hold on. You in the Senate, you don't get to determine what goes on with a treaty. You're not allowed to ratify a treaty. We're going to tell you. We'll defund the government unless you do the treaty the way we say the way that we say you should. I mean, this is again an Alinskyite approach. This is messing up the process when it doesn't work for you and abusing the process when it does. And this is what Democrats do all the time. How could anyone claim that there's even the slightest bit of good faith in any of them? It was a rush. We must impeach. National security is at stake because of Eastern Ukraine. Forget about how many Americans, how many members of Congress could have asked, fine, without names put on the Eurasian countries, find where Donbass is. If we just had the outlines of the countries, just showed where that is on the Eurasian landmass, do you think any of them could find where the Donbass region of Ukraine is? These people have no idea. And by the way, how many of them even know that there is this breakaway problem? Could they name it? Do they know what Luhansk and Donetsk are? I mean, they talk about this as though they have some great care for it, but as we know, many of them would probably pull a "what is Aleppo" moment. For those of you who recall that from the last presidential cycle. What is Aleppo? That was the great libertarian hope. Whoops. So Pelosi now is telling the Senate that you have to do it the way that we say you should do it, or else we're not going to push through the articles of impeachment to you, which then raises a question, has the president really been, if it's never handed to the Senate, is the president impeached? And how long can Pelosi delay this while still claiming that there was an urgency, there was a national security imperative to transfer this to the Senate as quickly as possible? Oh, now it doesn't have to be as quickly as possible. Now it's something else because it changes every day. Their case changes depending on what they need for that day. You know, whatever stage of their attack on President Trump they're in, that is what their analysis will dictate. That is what their constitutional obligations, as they say, will force upon them. Isn't it amazing to hear Democrats who never really talk about the Constitution, and they don't talk about the Founding Fathers until now, until they're desperate to cloak themselves in this very high-minded sounding language of governance and the Republic and the founding, and so American. These are the people that believe in open borders and that effectively anybody from anywhere in the world is just as much an American citizen as you. They just have to show up and stay. Oh, but they're so American, these Democrats in Congress. They really represent the best of this country. It's both hilarious and terrifying to hear them make the case in such a disingenuous and dishonest way. It's something that should unsettle everybody, I think. But you know what's even more unsettling than that? When Nancy Pelosi is blabbering on and making absolutely no sense whatsoever on substance or on style. I have questions here about what this means for Pelosi. Please play clip 16.
Some Republicans have said of looking like you're playing games with impeachment if you hold on to these articles for too long.
I said what I was going to say, Nancy. When we bring the bill, which is, just so you know, there's a bill made in order by the Rules Committee that we can call up at any time in order to send it over to the Senate and to have the provisions in there to pay for the impeachment. And then the next step, whatever you want to call it, the trial. That is where you put the managers. I was not prepared to put the managers in that bill yet because we don't know the arena that we are in. Frankly, I don't care what the Republicans say. Any other questions? Not on this subject. I've said this is it. I honored Nancy.
Notice how she wants to move on pretty quickly past that. Doesn't want to have to answer any real questions about what happens now at this phase. They've had their impeachment vote, strict party line vote. Democrats, once again, abandoning a principle the Democratic Party pretended to care about until all of a sudden it was inconvenient, and then the principle disappears. Here you have Pelosi saying, I don't care what the Republicans say. Any other questions not on this subject? I've said this is it. Notice how the reporters also, a lot of them go, oh, whatever Queen Nancy says. No, when a politician is doing a press conference and there's one issue more important than any other, and it looks like she's in a tough spot to answer the questions because she's being dishonest, because she's lying to the American people, that's when you would, if you had a real press corps, they would pounce. But they said, another question, last night you suggested you'd proceed with a fair process in the Senate. She responded, well, we'd like to see a fair process, but we'll see what they have, and we'll be ready for whatever it is. Is that a requirement for you to see a fair process before sending over the articles? Speaker Pelosi, we would hope there would be a fair process, just as we would hope they would honor the Constitution. By the way, I saw some of it, Pelosi said. I didn't see it, but I heard some of what Mitch McConnell said today. It reminded me that our founders, when they wrote the Constitution, they suspected there could be a rogue president. I don't think that they could have suspected a rogue president and a rogue leader in the Senate at the same time. Well, what kind of insane smear is that? A rogue? Mitch McConnell's a rogue Senate leader? How is he a rogue Senate leader? Nancy Pelosi's the one who's doing what everybody agrees is at least really weird. Oh, you're not going to just hand over the articles of impeachment to the Senate? You're not going to transmit them? You're just going to hold on to them? This is a game, folks. She's playing games. It's supposed to be somber and serious, but she's playing games. There's no honest, good faith debate to be had here. People that try to disagree with this are hacks. They're clowns. They're liars. I don't care what degree they have or what network they're on. Even CNN, which as my friend Charles writes today, is not a news network. Boom. What have I been telling you all along? Of course it's not. This place is a joke. Put out a challenge right now. Tapper, Lemon, Cuomo, Burnett. Any of them want to debate whether CNN is a news network? I'm happy to come on their show and have that debate with them anytime. They won't. They'd get smoked, but still, I'm happy to do it. I put it out there. Any of their primetime anchors, any single one of them, is CNN a news network? Put out that challenge right now. Okay. Speaker Pelosi To that end, you've talked and criticized Senator McConnell today. Pelosi says, any other questions? She wants to move past this. Move past it. Doesn't want to answer any more questions. Anybody want to talk about the Mexico Free Trade Agreement? Anybody care about that? Jobs for the American people, progress in addressing globalism and the issues? Anybody want to talk about the SALT tax that we're passing today? Important issues related to the economic vitality of our communities? Any other questions? Because I'm not going to answer any more questions on this. Nancy Pelosi gets to dictate to her little scribes in the journo class, gets to dictate to them what they are allowed to ask, what they're allowed to do. And they go, oh, okay, Nancy, whatever you say. Because they speak truth to power. They grovel at the feet of power as long as it is Democrat power, as long as it's leftist, socialist power. They're absolutely fine with that. In fact, they know that that's career enhancing and ideologically in line with what all these journos believe, with the exception of some people at conservative outlets and Fox News. Everybody else is like, oh, yes, we pray at the feet of Pelosi. Pathetic. I mean, this is absurd. She's completely gone back on the entire case that she's been making for the urgency here. And now she's shown that was all a lie. I mean, this is the equivalent of, if you like your health care plan, you can keep it. No, it was all a lie. Obama knew it was a lie when he said it. Pelosi has known all along that the urgency here has nothing to do with national security. Only a moron believes that. The urgency is strictly a function of Democrats need to get this done within a certain timetable because they have people that are running for president against Trump. That's all this is. That's it. Pelosi doesn't have any good answers. And so that's why she gets to stare down all these different journalists and go, zip it, just like she did to her Democrats when they were somber and serious voting for impeachment. That now we sit here and ask Democrats, sometimes people ask the question that, they'll say that's the guy that can't shoot straight. Democrats can't just get an impeachment through as it should. Stunning, isn't it? But I guess not surprising. Isn't this exciting, everybody? On radio and podcast, you can't, but those watching on Pluto TV, see, this is why it's fun to be able to watch it on the Freedom Hut. I have a Jamaica No Problem memento here, which looks like the top of a beer bottle that has been severed to form a shot glass. It is a memento from Producer Mark. Producer Mark, thank you. I feel like I was
welcome.
Basically there with you on the beach.
I would have brought you the rum, but, gluten.
Yeah. No, rum doesn't have gluten.
Really? Oh, I'm
sorry.
Sugar.
Okay. Next time.
I thought tequila was the only one that didn't have gluten.
Tequila and rum. And actually, distilled spirits usually are gluten-free in general. Just beer I can't have. So when you want to poison me, just pour beer in my milkshake. And
Got it. Will do.
There we go. I got a special treat for you all as our end of the decade Buck Sexton show happens. We have our friend Jesse Kelly in the mix. He is, of course, the host of the Jesse Kelly Show, also on The First, joining me and Mike Slater and some other fabulous people who will be announced in the relatively near future, in the weeks ahead, probably in the new year. Jesse Kelly, sir, how are you of the Jesse Kelly Show?
We are coming up on Christmas break where my kids will be home all the time, and I have to go visit my in-laws, so I'll be better.
Wow. I want to get into a little bit of a very Jesse Kelly Christmas in a couple minutes. But first, because this is a news show, of course, and we talk about what's going on in the world, as you do on your fantastic show, which is also here on Pluto Channel 248, The First, on Pluto TV. Tell me what's your reaction to this Nancy Pelosi gambit of, I'm just going to maybe not pass on the impeachment stuff until they do what I tell them, as if she has leverage here. I don't understand where she thinks this leverage comes from.
Disagree. I think it's the most brilliant political move I've seen in a long time. I think she should flat out come out today and say, we are not sending it to the Senate, ever consider it dead on arrival. Because we live in the nuclear news cycle now, where everything burns super hot, but it's gone in a day. She would get crushed for a day, but it's a Friday. It would be gone by Monday. By the time everyone had breakfast on Monday, people would have forgotten all about the impeachment. Then she never has to endure the Senate trial. She gets to have her little piece of cake and then let it go.
Wait, hold on. I mean, maybe if you're saying the delay for a day or two, but Jesse, there's talk of her delaying it for weeks, perhaps even months, so they can get more information to try and leverage that against the president along the way. How does this not make the whole case crumble for the urgency of impeachment?
Yes, but you're missing the point. The whole case has crumbled. Nancy Pelosi, even though she's not entirely lucid anymore, is no spring chicken. She's been around this game a long time. This has been a humongous political disaster for Democrats. She wants this thing to go away. She wants it to go away fast. I think she should bury it right now in her backyard and tell everybody, I'm not sending it to the Senate. Screw y'all. And everyone will get mad at her for a couple days.
Wait, but that doesn't. Oh, wait, hold on, my man Jesse. That doesn't bury it. That just means that there's always this. When is she gonna? You're saying she indefinitely holds it, and that's better than because there's also the argument that the president hasn't even been impeached, which is the whole point for the left-wing base and the lunatics out there. That at least now he's impeached, and that's supposed to be some kind of stain on his presidency. She wouldn't even accomplish that.
Yes, but yes, she would in their minds, and that's all she ever had to do for her base.
You are wargaming this from the position of crazy, and I respect that about you, but Jesse, I don't know if you're crazy enough.
No, listen, it's brilliant. They went through their own part. They went through the part of this impeachment that they controlled, the part in the House. They saw all the poll numbers in swing states. They took an absolute beating on it. She wants this thing to die now. She wants this thing to end now. She does not want to send this over to the United States Senate where Mitch McConnell will have control of it, and we all know he'll abuse Democrats with that control of it. Just say, I'm not sending it to him. Screw y'all, and bury it. Everyone will get mad. We'll all have forgotten about impeachment by Monday morning.
I mean, look, it's bold. I will say right now, Jesse, you and I have to have a gentleman's bet for which one of us will buy the other a very overpriced steak in New York City. She's going to transmit these articles of impeachment. There's no way she holds it. Are you going to tell me right now? We're on air. Are you going to tell me you think she might actually bury this in the backyard? Never actually transmit?
I think she buries it. Yep.
Wow. All right. Jesse and I have a bet now. I think she passes it along. Jesse thinks she buries it in the backyard. And there's a stake hanging in the balance here. Either way, it won't be as good as your steaks down in Houston, Jesse, but we try up here in this frigid northeastern corridor of liberal insanity. I also have to ask you about by the way, I mean, I'll be honest. I read the transcript. I woke up this morning, drank my coffee, read the transcript, and saw some clip. I didn't watch the whole debate last night. I took a night off.
So, yeah, as you should have. Nobody should watch this anymore. And to be totally honest with you, Joe Biden's team has done him a tremendous disservice by still making him debate. His numbers have not moved. He is by far the far and away front runner. And he's only killing his general election chances even more. That little soundbite he had last night when asked if you would wipe out hundreds of thousands of Midwest construction jobs, and he responded yes.
Wait. I think I want it because that was my favorite moment of the debate, and we didn't even coordinate this beforehand. Do you have that one, producer Mark? The knocking out the jobs, Joe Biden talking about. Yes, here we go. 17.
Vice President Biden, I'd like to ask you, 3 consecutive American presidents have enjoyed stints of explosive economic growth due to a boom in oil and natural gas production. As president, would you be willing to sacrifice some of that growth, even knowing potentially that it could displace thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of blue-collar workers in the interest of transitioning to that greener economy?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes.
I don't know how you can walk away from that. The same way that Democrats are eventually, Jesse, and I will tell you, I even said this on the Bill Maher show, and Bill was like, yeah, that was bad. When you had Democrats on stage who were all like, free health care for illegals, who wants to do it? And everybody on the stage, it was granted one of 2 debate stages, they had to split it up, but everybody on stage said, yeah, let's give free health care to anybody who's here illegally. That's going to be a problem for them. This could be an even bigger problem because this is Joe Biden saying, I'm so down with the Green New Deal and all that other nonsense that I don't care if you get fired.
Oh, it's death, Buck. And think about this. I mean, everybody knows this. You don't decide elections. I don't decide elections here in Texas. It's the Rust Belt swing states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio. Everybody knows Wisconsin. These are the states that decide elections. Do you have any idea how many times Donald Trump is going to play that clip you just played for those people in those Rust Belt swing states? Joe Biden's going to get slaughtered in the Midwest just for that clip alone. He should not do a single debate, a single other debate. They should announce it today. Joe Biden has debated enough. We've had 10 debates. He's the faraway front runner. He's just going to go campaign.
I think that one of the worst moments, and this is saying a lot, by the way, in the last election cycle for Democrats was when you had Hillary Clinton. Do you remember this? Talking about coal miners?
Yep.
Because all of a sudden, it became clear that they really do. This is where the socialist mask slips a little too much, and all of a sudden you see and the central planning impulse from the Democrats where they're like, yeah, we promise you all this good stuff. Some of you are going to get completely, screwed over in this process, and that's just the cost of doing business.
That's the problem with it, Buck. It's not necessarily do you believe in climate change or don't. It's when he says things like that. When Hillary Clinton said that about the coal, when Joe Biden said it last night, they sound so cold. They sound so callous. They just don't sound like they give a crap about working people. And there's nothing worse you can be in politics than obviously cold and uncaring.
Can I just give you, I want to pull the exact quote. Back in March of 2016, and this was, remember, people, what matters in what states. It's not about what people in San Francisco and New York or, red parts of Texas think. It's what do people in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, these are the states that really matter that are in play, and at the presidential level. And Hillary said in March of 2016, as part of an answer on energy, quote, "We're going to put a lot of coal miners and coal companies out of business," end quote.
And that's the thing. She could have even skipped the miners part. I mean, you could have just stuck with coal companies. Not that that's any better, but when you specify the miners, when Joe Biden is asked last night, what about those hundreds of thousands of blue-collar workers? Oh, yeah, they can be displaced. You sound like a Washington elitist who's never had to work a day in your life, and you don't understand how people put food on the table.
Yeah, I think that was a very bad moment for Joe Biden. That's an ad right there for Trump that they should just run. Just run that ad of Joe Biden saying that over and over and over again. Because it's completely off base and insane. But I also wanted to get you, I feel like you'd have a fun take on this. Were you up on the Warren versus Mayor Pete wine cave ruckus?
No, I actually was not. I saw that trending online, but I didn't watch the debate. I caught the highlights. What is this wine cave thing?
Well, we can play it for you. We can play the exchange, and then we can get your reaction to it in real time. Play 20.
So the mayor just recently had a fundraiser that was held in a wine cave full of crystals and served $900 a bottle wine. Think about who comes to that. He had promised that every fundraiser he would do would be open door, but this one was closed door. We made the decision many years ago that rich people in smoke-filled rooms would not pick the next president of the United States. Billionaires in wine caves should not pick the next president of the United States.
Mr. Mayor, your response. According to Forbes magazine, I am literally the only person on this stage who's not a millionaire or a billionaire. So if this is important, this is the problem with issuing purity tests you cannot yourself pass. If I pledge never to be in the company of a progressive Democratic donor, I couldn't be up here. Senator, your net worth is 100 times mine. Now, supposing that you went home feeling the holiday spirit, I know this isn't likely, but stay with me, and decided to go on to PeteForAmerica.com and give the maximum allowable by law, $2,008.
Yo, so sorry, Jed, I wanted to give you the full context there. I got to say, I think Mayor Pete threw some of that cave wine in Warren's face there. I think he decided to go for it.
Oh, he destroyed her. And that's the thing. Elizabeth Warren wants to play the socialist class warfare game. Until Mike Bloomberg got in the race, Elizabeth Warren was the richest candidate in the field. I think she's worth like $3.8 million, which, again, I don't begrudge anybody their wealth, but she has gone all in.
I think she's worth like $6 to $12 million.
Well, yeah. Oh, gosh, it's even more. Okay, well, yeah, but this is the problem with Democrats, and I don't understand what they're doing during the debate. Why is Elizabeth Warren going after Mayor Pete? Mayor Pete is polling at 5% or under everywhere, and she's currently falling too. Either you're going after Biden or you have no purpose on the debate stage up there. What are they doing?
One thing that evolves, I think, as we go through this process of watching the Democratic primary is best option, worst option. For you on that stage, if one of them, if you could just take one of them out of the running, meaning like it's just too scary for America, forget about who would win against Trump, put that aside. If a Democrat is going to win the election, but you could veto one from that stage, who would it be?
Mayor Pete.
Wow, Mayor Pete. I'm actually surprised about that. I mean, for me, it's actually Bernie. I mean, I think he's actually scary to me. I mean, this guy honeymooned in the Soviet Union and nothing has changed.
Well, they're all frightening. They're all commies. And I'm not going to say you're wrong about Bernie, but I've seen a couple little flashes of it from Mayor Pete, and I don't know where this comes from. I'm not educated enough about what his background is, but he has had a couple little flashes of just seeming like somebody with a real hate on, at least for Christians in the United States of America. And I'll tell you what, the last president we had like that was Obama, and he did some serious damage. He just always felt like behind those soaring speeches and whatnot, he had a real hate on for a lot of people in this country, and he did some damage.
Have to pick one you had to vote for. I mean, I'm your life hangs in the balance. You have to actually cast a vote for Democrat on that stage. Who is it going to be?
Oh, Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, she's
was
so
she
hot.
on the stage? No, but she wasn't on the stage last night. I would agree with you on that, but she wasn't there. So you got Yang, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, Sanders, Warren, Biden.
You know what? I was going to say Yang, but I'm actually going to go with Klobuchar because she seems like such a genuinely hostile human being. And that story about her throwing binders at her staff and making staffers shave their legs at work and stuff like that, I think we get some hilarious stories out of the White House.
Shave her legs.
Yes, shave her legs. So I think we get some great stories out of the White House of her ripping off paintings off the wall and stuff like that. It'd be awesome.
All right, a fair point. We're gonna ask Jesse Kelly a little bit about some Christmas cheer in a second here. All right, we're talking to my man Jesse Kelly, host of the Jesse Kelly show down on KPRC Houston, 6 to 9. You can also, of course, and should subscribe to the Jesse Kelly show and watch him here on Pluto TV channel 248, the first. Jesse, we only got a couple minutes, but I want to ask, so what is the Christmas wisdom as a married father of two? What are some of the Christmas traditions? What are some of the do's and don'ts? Bring us into the Kelly household a little bit for the Christmas season.
Now, this year is an exception because I actually am traveling this year. But for all you young parents out there, you're going to be torn on Christmas Day, and you're going to want to go to his parents' house and then her parents' house. Or maybe you'll go this year or that year. You alternate years. Rip that Band-Aid off. Rip it off very early when the kids are 4, 5, 6 years old. Tell all the in-laws they can come to you. Start your own family traditions. Otherwise, Christmas sucks for you, and that's not the way life's supposed to be. You're not supposed to have kids and luggage and planes and travel and all these other things. You wake up on Christmas morning with a cup of coffee, read a little Bible story to your little ones, watch them open some presents, and enjoy your day. It's Christmas.
What are you thinking about this movie 1917, the all one-shot World War I movie that's coming out on Christmas Day? Over the holiday, you going to check it out?
I am the biggest World War I freak in the history of mankind. I read everything I can read on it. I consume every podcast I can on it. I have never been this excited for a movie in my life. World War I is the most underrated conflict. People do not realize how fascinating that
Oh, yeah. And also just the concentration of carnage during some of those battles. Humanity would not have the stomach to handle a week of that anymore. I mean, it's a completely...
No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't. I have said long ago, you can do the wars with swords and spears or nuclear war, whatever you want to say. If you had to pick one conflict in the history of mankind I would not want to fight in, it would be World War I. I mean, we had guys in Flanders drowning in the mud over a period of 2 or 3 days because they couldn't be pulled out. People getting gassed to death. I mean, the war is ugly.
Yeah, no, it's. I agree with you. So you know what, Jesse? Actually, I think this is a good thing for us to set up in the new year. I'm going to see the 19 because I actually like to learn about the First World War II. We should do a sit down and chat maybe over one of our podcasts after we've both seen 1917 and do a sort of just a hot wash of the whole thing.
100%. Let's do it.
Fantastic. Jesse Kelly, everybody, the man himself. If you have not already, please subscribe to the Jesse Kelly Show. Also, check him out on channel 248, Pluto TV's The First. Just download the Pluto TV app. You should be watching the Buck Sexton Show, the Jesse Kelly Show, and the Mike Slater Show, and the... Oh, Jesse, we can't tell them the other shows yet, can we?
Can't tell them yet.
Not yet, but they're going to be good. They're going to be excited. Mm-hmm. Jesse, you and your family have a very blessed and joyful Christmas, and we'll talk to you soon, my man.
See you, my man.
See, that's 1917, man. Producer Mark, you might have to see it, too. And by the way, you also have to find the date that you want me to take you. I'm going to take you and producer Brandon out to to a
hockey
hockey
game?
game.
Yeah.
Whatever the cheaper team is, we'll go see that.
The
one.
Islanders.
Yeah. Oh, the Islanders?
Yeah.
We'll take you to an Islanders game.
I mean, come on.
Maybe I'll get you guys jerseys.
I don't want an Islander jersey. Come on.
No, we only go to the game if I get a photo of both of you in Islanders jerseys.
I'm not wearing an Islander jersey.
See, they
no
make it
chance
hard for
that's
me
happening.
now. All of a sudden, we can't even get this done. All right, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Those tickets might get a hot dog thrown in there too.
You don't want any food at the Nassau Coliseum. Oh, it is bad.
I'm learning so much today.